What's popping, people? God, I love saying that. Miranda here with a brand new Adventures of Aipom video. Today, we'll be doing a Beneath the Mask breakdown for episode 1 of the series. If you haven't watched it yet, you probably should. Otherwise, these notes are going to spoil plenty of things. If you missed the intro to this little shindig, this is the series where yours truly breaks down important plot points, trivia, and other things you might have missed on your watch through of the series. I'll also be going over scrapped or off-screen moments that didn't make the final cut. And I think I'll sweeten the deal a bit for those of you that stick around until the end of these videos. The boss doesn't know it yet, but I'll be giving some of you your first looks at new characters coming to the series in Season 2. Sound like a plan? I knew you'd like it. First things first, Adventures of Aipom Episode 1 is named The Calm. This is a reference to the phrase the calm before the storm, and was chosen because it pretty much sums up the first half of the series. In fact, Episode 5.5 is the definitive turning point. Captain B's opening speech sets the events of Episode 1 7 years after the Lord Frige community events. The number 7 is chosen quite a few times during the series because of its ties to the source material, most notably the 7 Dragon Balls. This speech also canonized just about every Adventures of Aipom event participant in some way, shape, or form. Meaning if your characters have appeared or at the very least were mentioned in one of the events during pre-production, you've got your very own slice of web series history. At the start of the series, Captain B is out in space and has been out there for quite some time. This is thanks to a hunch from his right-hand man, Wire. This opening speech is actually where we first hear about some sort of relationship to Poten's family. We even hear Tato mentioned by name. The sleeping dragon of Kanan may not be an active combatant or soldier anymore, but we learn that he at the very least keeps up with events going on in the city. He's quite the fan of local celebrities and might even freak out if he gets the chance to meet one. We get to meet the first of 5 professor characters and Headmaster Stain during his commercial in the city. Did you notice Echo during the vignette? The audio for the scene was actually supposed to be promotional material for the series before it aired. Cable makes his first on-screen appearance here as well, and we get a quick glimpse of how he views the Academy as a whole. He's also being trailed by Salt and Pepper. A content between this episode and episode 2 would have shown characters interacting with each other for the first time. Some of these interactions include Salt and Pepper bullying Aipom and Echo, Cable begrudgingly standing up for them, Aipom and Echo freaking out over the Potent Rookie card, the group meeting Potent for the first time in person, and Professor Stain formally introducing himself to the students. If you got a certain ending, you at least got to see one of these events play out on screen. Aipom has the only dream sequence of the series in this episode against a possessed version of Captain B. This was actually subtle foreshadowing about an encounter Aipom would have with a certain character. In a reference to the out-of-character lore video promotional materials, the characters eat pizza bagels of all things as a meal of preference for whatever reason. It just sticks. In the chat with Professor Stain, we learn that the Nappa simulation is still messed up after some sort of incident in the past. This is an Easter egg alluding to the pilot version of the Adventures of Aipom where the Nappa simulation went haywire against Aipom. Of course, during this version of events, it has a different reason for going berserk, and that is a bit of tampering from Salt and Pepper. The Spy siblings have a pact that neither will move on to the next rank without the other. They have actually been held back from advancing for a year. Aipom's Time Patroller card collection isn't the biggest, and he's only started collecting in hopes of getting his hands on a Potent Rookie card. Despite being his crush, Potent is also one of his idols. If you look at their outfits close enough, you can see elements of her design on him as well. Potent's grades at the Time Patroller Academy are second only to her older brothers. However, the gap between her grades and some other standouts is only marginal. There are plenty of other impressive patrollers who have grades that earn them respect or nods from guests from Universe 7's history. The timing of the trip back to Kantan City was orchestrated by Wire. The solar storms mentioned throughout the episode were in place so that Captain B and his team couldn't be reached as easily. The appearance of Geroid at the end solidifies the plan to kill off Captain B once and for all. Professor Stain mentioned security risks in this episode, and while it may not be apparent right away, it establishes the vulnerability of Kantan very early on. While it plays into the events leading up to the finale, it actually has much greater importance for the next season. I said too much. This episode was the newest episode to be written before the interactive finally came out. It has elements of the pilot and initial episode 1 script in it, but was determined to be a much softer opening to the series than the abrupt start. If I'm not mistaken, that was the last of my notes. Alright, kings, queens, everything beyond and in between, this is the part where you stretch those legs and get ready for our little sneak peek bonus. I'm going to be giving you guys the basic character bio for Tato today. I figured it's only right because we mentioned him a few times in today's clip. Potent's older brother is pretty important and powerful. If you saw the season from start to finish, you actually did get to see him in passing during Captain B's Deadman Switch message. As a trusted member of the Resistance and captain of his own fleet, he actually has more accolades than most. Tato is just about as serious as his sister, if not more. Their main differences stem from Potent's desire to lift others up and elevate the people around her, whereas Tato would prefer to seek further improvement and optimization of himself. In the second season of the series, he will appear in person. He is very blunt and direct when asked his opinion about things and doesn't particularly care for small talk, but beneath his Taito's tough exterior lies a man with a strong sense for justice and a weakness for pistachio ice cream. His right-hand man is the loudmouth and brash Brussel. His power far exceeds Captain Bees and the sleeping dragon of Cotton. So much so that he is said to be banned from even entering missions in history. With all of his focus on current events and goings-on in the universes, he trails traces of the Lusk army and anomalies like a super-efficient hound. With punches that can rend space, speed that can undermine time itself, and combat intuition that would give those that came before him a run for their money. Taito is a name most enemies on the battlefield have learned to fear. Of course, these feats are only whispers and myths, but there aren't very many left standing to set the record straight. Taito's fleet of soldiers have been given the dreaded run-on-site status, leaving most of their adversaries ready to run for the hills at the mere mention of his name. That's so freaking cool. You'll get to know even more about Taito in the near future when the Adventures of Aipom's second season promotional material begins to roll out. I hope that was a good enough teaser for you all. If not, tough titty, I don't get paid for my work here. That's gonna wrap up today's video, and if you made it this far, I'd like to ask you a question of the day.
Why the hell haven't you hit the like button yet, you freaking whore?
Where have you